will be relevant to where you are at the stage in your client projects, and then you'll have time to have formal team meetings, which is what you need for your portfolio. You need 3 sets of. And then we'll also have formal supervisory meetings, so I'll kind of come around the room like we've done in previous weeks. Actually, I'm going to start right at the end, because I just want to show you the module scheme, which I should have. Here we go. So, looking ahead, this is where we are. So we're in week 14 right now on the 20-week module. Just to put that into perspective, the showcase, so the 3rd of February is next week. January's finally finishing today, which is good news. It does feel like it's been a very long month. So next week is February, which is the month that this will finish. So things are going to start to get ramp up a little bit. Hello. How'd it go? Good. Excellent. All right, we'll catch up in a bit. So it's really important that we work backwards. Like all projects planning that we should be doing is working backwards. So this is the very last week of the module, which is when the individual assessment is due. So that's the reflection, CV, LinkedIn. The week before is when the portfolio is due. So that's the group portfolio. One person submits, but individual grades are given. And the week before that is the showcase. So that's on the link bridge, over towards the library on the 2nd floor. You'll have your desks, and you'll be showcasing the work you've done for the client, which means the work that you've done for the client needs to be completed by this date. So that's the 28th of February. This is week commencing 24th. The showcase is on the 28th of February. So that means we've only got 3 more classes like this sort of style. So it's really starting to kind of ramp up a little bit. So hopefully that gives you a bit of motivation to get going with kind of completing the tasks that the client has asked you to do. And as well, morning, making sure that you've got your final meeting booked somewhere around here. That's really important, because you need to have your final meeting in before the showcase, because that's you showcasing the work that you've done for them. So if anyone, I think you're all kind of at the stage where you're booking the next meeting, I really recommend, especially those like, missing in that have been a bit hard to pin down, whenever you're next speaking with them, get that last meeting booked in, so then you feel that you know where you're going. Any questions about that? Is that looking okay, or is that looking a bit scary?
Scary.
Yeah, I know, I'm not surprised. So let's think about that today and what we can do to make sure it's achievable. Okay, so back to the beginning. So with that in mind, okay, I know I started at the end there. So what I want to look at today is where you should be in terms of the client project, to make sure everything's on track. And most of you are at this stage where you've been doing some work and you're going to be showing it to the client. Some of you have already had little bits of this, some of you haven't yet. So we're going to talk a little bit about how do you communicate your ideas to the client to get the best kind of possible outcome. And what to do about handling objections and rejections. I've got a little activity, and then I'll remind you about the key dates again. Okay, so this is where you hopefully are. I think pretty much everybody's had a meeting, a first meeting.
Yes.
Excellent. Hopefully you'll either have a meeting booked for February, or you will be doing that. And like I say, it's really important that you have your last meeting booked. So for the portfolio, unless there's a really extenuating circumstance, you need evidence of 3 client meetings. Most of you have completed or ask for heads, sorry, a lot of research on the client. I know you guys have been doing like competitor websites and things. That's all really good. I know you've been doing some competitor research as well. So a lot of you are kind of in this part right now. And a lot of you are starting to gather some ideas based on maybe questionnaires or from your kind of benchmarking. So that's where a lot of you are right now, which is good, where you should be. So the next step is about presenting, especially that final meeting that you have with your client, whenever you're showing them your solutions, your outcomes, that's being based on your research. How do you present that in a way that they will accept what you're saying? And it's a bit like selling really, isn't it? So it's those sorts of things that we need to think about. So if we have a look at this, you can see here the 3 different scenarios really. So the first scenario, so who are you in this scenario? Are you the seller or the buyer as consultants?
What are we?
Seller.
We are the
exactly.
seller.
And the client is buying, not
Idea.
buying, but they're buying your
Information.
ideas, your solutions, your outcomes, exactly. So the first scenario, it's just not going to work. You're way off the mark. You're never going to, even no matter how hard you negotiate, they're not going to buy your ideas. You're not going to sell your ideas. The middle one would be lovely, that they love everything that you do, and they just say, yes, amazing, we'll do that. Also, no need for negotiation. But the third one is where you'll most likely be, is that you'll have your ideas, your solutions based on your research. They sort of like it. They like bits of it, and they're not too sure about it. Has anyone had any of these 3 scenarios yet? I mean, Thomas, not to pick on you, you're fresh from a meeting. Where would you say, did they...
Probably the bottom one.
The bottom one, yeah.
She likes what we've got, but she's still picking it.
Negotiating
It's the most common. It's the most common. And it's normal. That's part of the consultancy process. If it was that easy, they probably wouldn't need the consultants. So what do we do? How do you get from being at the bottom to getting them to be in agreement? And it's kind of an art, it's kind of a skill, negotiation skills. It is something that is really important, and it's something that's really important for employability as well. So if any of you are, and this is what that coursework 2 is all about, capturing the skills you've developed in this module. You can all evidence, when you complete this module, that you have developed and have negotiation skills, because that's what you're doing. So even though you might not know that that's what you were doing today, when you're presenting it, you can actually, in an interview or anything, if they say, tell me a time when you've had to negotiate, you can talk about this. I had a real client, real project, presented our ideas, they liked bits of it, but they weren't too sure, so I had to negotiate to get them to buy into the idea. So that's the whole point of this module. It's really good evidence for your employability.
Negotiation. Yes.
As you can see, these are the kind of ranges, and it's never really cut and dry, is it? I mean, you're probably like, well, it's a little bit, at the bottom, but they like some bits, and that's what this means here about the ranges. So it's very rare that it's like one of these 3. It's normally in between, and it's just important for you to think about. This is where we can reach an agreement. So it's where you can walk away happy and they can walk away happy. So it's trying to think about how do you get there. Before we go on to the kind of tactics to help you with that, it's really important just to have a reminder of yourselves of why is it that your clients need consultants? Why is it that you know, in industry, you know, these massive consultancy groups, these massive consultancy companies, or consultants like yourselves in this module, why are they needed? So we looked at this right at the beginning of the module, but I think it's a good reminder at this point to think about why would companies want consultants? Why might they need you? Yeah, Brian?
Because they might not have the time to do everything themselves.
Brilliant, yeah, exactly. They might not have the time. What else might they not have?
The resources and stuff.
Resources?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what? What sort of resources?
Like quantifying the proper necessary research.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. They might not have access to the research even. Yeah, exactly. What do you guys have that the clients are interested in? What do they like about what you're doing? Yourselves really.
Number one, we have the time
Yeah.
to research more and give them more information, like we are doing university. So we want to give them more information how they can get more students, you know, through different platforms.
And what's the advantage of going outside of the company? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really important. So it's really good to remind yourselves about what your strengths are in this project. So you might have specialist skills, knowledge. Where's the SU group? You know, you're the exact target of who they're wanting. So you've got that special knowledge of being from that experience, your own experiences of, you know, events and their website. Time, definitely. And I said that kind of fresh, independent, you're not kind of thinking about all the internal goings on. You've got that external point of view. So, you know, remember that you've got a lot of really important strengths as consultants whenever you're bringing your ideas to them. Do you remember this? This is around the time when we're looking at the pitch. Why might clients choose one team of consultants over another? And it was about that, how much do you understand the client? So at this point in the project, so we talked about this right at the beginning when we're showing you the briefs. Now you've actually met the clients, spoken to them, you've had that exploration of the brief. Do you feel like you do understand them a bit more? Do you understand the market more? Do you understand the client more? And that's all part of that consultancy life cycle. Hopefully you can see what your relevant skills are for the project. We talked about this to do with the pitch as well. Michael, you mentioned that as well about research, you know, making sure that everything you're saying, it's not just your opinion, you're supporting it with research. You know, like, I don't know, the SU project, you might say, we see on the website you don't have a TikTok account. You can't just say, we think that's a good idea. If you're able to say, look at this report of your demographics, say it's the #1 platform, that's why we think you should use TikTok. Do you see how that's a lot stronger? That's what they're after. We talked about enthusiasm. So whenever you're trying to win the business in the pitch, you needed to show enthusiasm, passion for the project. Are you still passionate about it? Are you still enthusiastic about it? Have you had meetings where, you know, you haven't really you felt a bit kind of confused or you're not really sure? How can you make sure to show passion, show enthusiasm in your meetings? Has anybody thought about that? What have you done to try and show that you're, you know, interested, engaged, enthusiastic about what they're doing? Have you thought about that at all? Do you think it's important to do that in meetings? Do you think it would help? Do you think it would help with your negotiation and your buy-in? Yeah, it is. It's really important. So how can you do it? What are some ways to show that you're interested? Thomas, you've just literally had a meeting. Did you do anything to show that you're interested?
If you just like, even when like, if they're talking for a long period of time, just like like feel that's like shaking their head maybe like
Mhm.
to show that you're like understanding this and then
Mhm.
sort of thing.
Yeah, those small things are so important. I would say one of the biggest ones, and it's to do with that, is your expressions. Smiling. I mean, you can all like just put on a smile, nod your head like you're saying. If they're talking for a long period of time, a really good one to do is when they finish, repeat back the key points that they've said. That helps you for your understanding, but it also demonstrates to them that you're getting it, that you understand it, that you're interested. So it's a really good tool to think about. So yeah, I would still, remember this whenever you're having your meetings. Are you underpinning your ideas with research? Are you showing that you're still interested in the project? And remember, especially all of your clients, they're really passionate, aren't they? It's their thing. They love what they do, so they want you to do that as well. Especially like St Lawrence's, that's such a passion project, isn't it? So, they're going to want you to come with that as well. Alright, this is a model that again helps with the consultancy life cycle. I'm not sure if you can see that all the way at the back. Hopefully you can put it on your slides. But I'll talk it through. So we've got our kind of 5 steps here. Morning, Ian. So number 1, what's the topic of the project? So we know what that is. We're past that step, which is good. What's the goal? You probably understood that more after your first meeting. The topic was more the client project brief, wasn't it? And then whenever you actually met them, spoke with them, then you really understood what's the specifics here and what are they actually trying to achieve. And then you're kind of on the 3 to 4 step now. So what's the reality? What are the challenges? What are the barriers to the project? You might be feeling that yourselves. They might be expecting a lot from you, or you're just not really sure what it is, or they might have changed what it is that they want you to do. So what you're kind of on the bit now is hopefully coming up with lots of possibilities. Whenever you're coming up with solutions, do you think a client wants to hear one solution or a range of solutions that they can choose from? Yeah, definitely, multiple. So even if you're really sure on one of your options or one of your solutions, spend some time and think, is there another option here? Is there something else that we can present to the client? And then that willingness is where we are with your negotiation. How willing are they to accept your solutions? And are there any obstacles that they're pushing back to you with? Like saying, yeah, we like it, but, and that's when you know you've got to do some negotiation. So if we have a look, so this is kind of this is the same model, just broken down again. So the goal, like I say, you should know by now exactly what is it you're hoping to achieve by the end of this module. I'm sure you're very much in the reality area right now. What is your current situation, team dynamics, availability, that sort of thing. And then, like I said, you're in that kind of options willingness stage. So if we think about, for a minute or two, about the options. So these are some possible questions that are really helpful in that negotiation space. Whenever you're thinking about, like I say, don't come up with just one solution. Ask yourselves within the team, what other alternatives are there? What other options are there? Questions that you can ask is, don't just say, here's 4 or 5 options, pick whatever's best. Ask them, which is the most interesting for you. If you're going to rate these, from high to low, what would you give them? Have you used any of these in other situations? It's all about gathering. The more information you can gather about what they're thinking about your solutions, the more it's going to help you sell that idea. So that that's what these questions are. They're kind of open questions to try, for you to try and gather as much information as you can. And then, yeah, trying to understand why might they not be accepting your options. How can you support them through that? And like I say, it's about gathering that information is going to be key to that. So why might people be resistant to your, why might your clients be resistant to your solutions? Some common reasons.
Resistant.
Maybe it doesn't fit the time strain. There could be expense constraints.
Yeah, definitely. It might not fit what they're actually able to do in a time frame. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Proposal, I'm not sure willing to do it for.
Yeah, exactly. You might not be sure. What did Karis say today? What was her reasons that she was kind of not totally sure in some of your ideas?
It was just that if you had different options, we had like AI options and videos, so she was like eyeing up like the AI, seeing how like realistic it could get, so she wasn't really sure about that.
Because of like because
How
of costs or
because how like knew that we were using a website that's quite new, got quite good funding, but then she was, I can't remember what the website was called, but then like it had like avatars, you can show yourself as an avatar, and you put into it. She was a bit hesitant on that, she wasn't sure how realistic it would be, and she was like that.
okay. Yeah. So that's a lot of what's on here actually. Do people like change? Do people like it when you're telling them, oh, we think you should change how you're doing stuff? So there's normally a bit of that as well, just that kind of natural feeling of not really sure, we've always done this, you know, we don't want to change it, it's always been like this. The perception, so they might not really understand what it is that you're trying to change. The inconvenience, so that could be because of, you know, technical knowledge, or it just is going to be too much for them to make the change. And yet, like, especially if you're, I mean, Karis is pretty good with tech, but if you're proposing to implement AI tools to a client who's really not into technology, that might be just a little bit too overwhelming for them. So see if you kind of recognise any stages here that you might have felt. So we've got this kind of change curve where we've got the time at the bottom and the confidence, morale and effectiveness at the top. So you're kind of getting the information, you're feeling pretty confident. They might start to be like, no, we're definitely not into that. I mean, hopefully none of you as consultants will get you know, into the anger situation. But once they're really resistant, that, and you're starting to gather that information to why are they resistant to your solutions, that's when the exploring stage, and that's how you can start to move into the accepting, is once you understand what their objections are, that gives you something to work with, and then over time, hopefully it'll get into the acceptance. So what can you do? So we've mentioned a couple of tips and strategies. What can you do if you get objections? Anybody else had any objections with their clients yet at the minute? What about careers with Kath? Has she been accepting, or has she given pushback any of your ideas?
I guess at first she wasn't sure if she wanted to like create a company Facebook page. She wasn't quite sure. But then she had actually created one. So yeah.
And how did you convince her? How did you get her to accept that?
We were explaining the benefits of it, how we can get more people to come to her and find out more about her.
Brilliant, and like, it's such a good example. Someone's pushing back, we're like, not sure if I want to do a Facebook page. Hopefully what you would say is, can you tell me why? Like, what are your reasons to resist this idea? And then that might be just not to think, I don't think it'll work, we don't think there'll be enough, you know, people on it or whatever. And then that means, okay, that's what we need to be able to evidence to her, is why good platform, which again can be like that demographic report to say, this is your demographic, this is the proof that they do like this platform, which is why, these are the benefits and why they might accept. So yeah, that's really good. So that's kind of asking the questions. I think the listening, I don't think you can underestimate that. And I know from talking to a lot of your clients are quite chatty, and that kind of comes again with the enthusiasm. They're passionate about what they do. I think if someone objects, don't cut them off, do that listening, that active listening. Do you know the difference between listening and active listening? Yes? What is it?
Active listening, when you do you're nodding and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
You
And
need
why
to
is it
hear
good?
So that you can actually see that you're listening. Instead of like say it's on a computer article,
Yeah,
you can be listening, but then the person talking don't know you're listening.
yeah, really good. Is there another hand? Was it Chloe? Were you gonna? No. But yeah, Thomas is exactly right. A lot of people, when you're having a conversation, they spend a lot of their time thinking about what they're going to say back, or when they're going to get a chance to reply. Where actually, if you just sit and really listen and give that other person some time, one of the most important and valuable tools you can do is the pauses. Have you tried this? Something I would recommend that you do with your clients. If they say no, we don't want that Facebook page, give it a minute. It's awkward, it feels awkward, but what happens when there's an awkward silence? What does the other person tend to do?
As you said.
Exactly. They has a minute or a second even to think about what they've said, and they also have a tendency to fill that awkward silence with some more information, and that really helps. It's really valuable in all sorts of kind of conflict situations between, teammates or, as well as a negotiation with clients. But, don't jump back in with a response. Let it sit, let them have a think about it, and it also gives you a second to think as well. So it's a really powerful tool, something that I still think about. I notice this when I'm in meetings, the people, if it's a bit of a fiery, topic, the people who are kind of jumping in and saying their opinions, they're kind of, getting a bit kind of riled up, whatever the topic is. But then there'll be some people in the meeting who they're quietly sitting there and they're really listening to it, and at the end of the meeting just say something amazing. That's because they've just done that active listening rather than just responding. It's really, really powerful. So yeah, I definitely suggest doing that. We've already said that have other alternatives. Don't come to a client meeting with, especially your last client meeting with just one solution, because if you are way off the mark, that's not really gonna work. So have some other alternatives. We've already mentioned support it with research. It's the best way to prove and evidence your ideas is through the research. And like Aidan said about showing the benefits of the Facebook page, show them the value. Like, why would it be beneficial for them? Don't let them try and have to figure that out for themselves. Tell them why it's a good idea, why it will help them. So yeah, I think some of these points are really important. If they say no straight away, don't get disheartened. It isn't the end. It is just that beginning of that negotiation period. So don't kind of go, oh well then, you hate it, we're off. It's alright if they don't like it. That's when you start to do your exploring questions and try and get back up to the acceptance. It is a tough one to not take things personally, especially if you put a lot of effort, time, or if you might really believe it, you're right and they're wrong. But remember, as consultants, you're not being paid for your opinion. You're not being hired in this case for your opinion. It's your research. So, do try and take the emotions out of it. Again, that's something that kind of comes more with experience. I think it is tough at this stage. Like we say, keep asking further questions and offer lots of different ideas. I think that the first 2 points we've covered a lot, but that last point I think is really good. Has anyone done this? And if the they've had in-person meetings gone along with something. So if you've got your, I don't know if you've done your survey, and you've got your survey results, and you've got that quite nicely in Microsoft Forms or whatever, if you have that as a printout and leave it with them with your solutions, that just gives them an extra bit of time later to look at it, to let it sink in, and that can sometimes really help as well. So hopefully there's some tips in there, some techniques. What if you what key techniques do you think you've gotten out of this? What can you do if your client says absolutely no way, I absolutely hate your idea? What's your tactics going to be? This side of the room. Bianca, picking you. Not sure, anyone help? Kidding?
So what was the question?
So, what have you picked up? Any tips from handling objections into negotiation? What would you do if your client, you present your solutions, your client says, no, I hate it. What are you going to do? Are you going to say, all right, they hate it, we're off?
It goes both ways.
In what way?
So sometimes the client may see something on impulse which is not really sounding good until you go further into deep depth and explain it properly. So they might start growing on the idea that you're presenting, whereby sometimes, like you said, if you give it a minute to sink in and say, okay, well, if this was the case, wouldn't it be better for you if you used to go about it this way? They might understand it. So it's either or, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. So what would you say the tips there for negotiation? Give it time.
Yeah, give it time. If there is rejection, make sure that you have that concise reasoning behind your point.
Reasoning, excellent. So exploring. Should we write these out? Because I'm not really. So give it time.
Give it a time. Okay.
Explore reasons.
I think we also talked about contingencies as well. So
What we say?
we talked about contingencies or
Contingency,
of
alternatives. Exactly.
solutions.
Yeah. Contingencies is a great word though.
And I actually want to know what
Anything
they
else?
really want. Yeah.
Any other tips from this side of the room? What to do if you face objection? How can you negotiate and get them to buy into your ideas?
Ask them the question back, sort of like say what do you want from like the,
Yes. What do you
Yeah.
and then you can work
That's a
on that.
really important part of active listening. Where have you heard where you mirror what they've said back to them? It's really powerful. Like I was saying before, if they're speaking for a long time, they want to know that you've been heard. Like it's a human nature, isn't it? If you're not happy with something, you want to make sure that the person that you're speaking to gets why you're not happy. And the way you do that is reframing it. So listen to what they've said, repeat back to them the key points. From what I'm hearing, you're not, you don't want to do a Facebook page because you can't see the benefit. Is that right? Can I ask, what is it you're trying to achieve from this? So you've listened to what their objections are, you've repeated it back to them so they feel heard, which is really important, isn't it? And then you're asking more exploratory questions, and then they're going to answer with, well, I just don't, feel like I've got the IT skills for this. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, we can help you with that. So that's definitely a way. So, what did I say? Reframe. Any other
Reframe.
tips on how to negotiate? I'll probably just add to that about the don't take it personally. And the way, how to definitely in the actual meeting to show that you're not taking it personally, I would avoid saying things like, but I've put so much time into this. Does the client want to know that? Is that going to help? Is it going to help them go, oh well, since you put so much time and effort in, all right then. You know, that's not going to help. It may be true and it may be totally valid, but don't say that in the meeting. You know, keep your emotions out of it, or keep your kind of well, I just think you're doing it wrong, or, you know, that sort of opinions. And keep it based on research. That's the best way. So you might have a really strong opinion, especially something like the SU client, where you are the customer, so you might have a really strong opinion on what they should be doing, but you don't really want to come at it from that way. You want to say, based on the research, this is why we think it's a good idea. It's stronger, and it's also less personal as well.
That's suggested. You are
Yeah.
suggesting to them.
Exactly, yeah. Alright.
Is it good to suggest to them?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Alright, so I've got an activity to do that you can think about whilst I start doing supervisory meetings. If anyone came in after I'd started, this is a reminder of the dates. So we've technically only 3 more classes in this room, which is quite scary. And then it'll be the showcase, and then it'll be the portfolio submission, and then the individual submission. So, you know,
And
really
we're nowhere.
start considering that in terms of what are you doing, what can you get done, and to help yourselves. Okay, so what I've got are some scenario questions that I want you to think about using these tools. How can you get the client to accept your ideas?
Using this too.
I shall hand these out. The rest of the session, I want you to consider these. We will come back as a class to think about them. And then also, I'll be coming on doing supervisory meetings. Whilst I'm doing that, you could be having team meetings
You can sit
as well.
in the middle. You don't
so
want.
please make sure you've got
Thank you.
your portfolio documents
Thank you,
somewhere
darling.
shared that you can all access. We've got 2 full teams here, which is good. Yes, of course. Yeah. You probably don't need these then.
Manage to-
Yeah. So you two definitely need to speak to each other to figure out what you're up to, yeah? So I'd probably prioritise that over this right now. So I
I
would,
will do some work at the library. It's a lot.
yeah, but as a team, so Ashish here, you need to
Because
make a plan.
he's not, we are not at the meeting, and Junior that have the minutes is not here. So it's a lot of problem for me. You know. I don't know. I want to start doing it on my own because I've been waiting for Junior. If I recorded the meeting, so I'm going to subtitle the meeting and put here on my, you know, because we are nowhere. Look at these people; they've gone far. You know. I don't know. I don't work like this. I like being ahead because I'm a visual learner, so I learn with all these things.
Yeah,
I've been calling him. Today I sent him a message. How can you be an undergraduate student? You are not checking your phone. You know. I'm going to start the first meeting. Just they steal my thing from the library. We went to the meeting. I talked to the Helen. You know. I'm going to speak to Susan. Everything. Should I be putting it on my portfolio or? I don't know.
It's better than yours.
I went to. This is the meeting that we
What's
went
the odds that she's going to hate?
because I normally record everything.
Yeah.
So in case if I don't understand this, so I will go to my meeting,
I don't mind.
my video. And
first one.
Susan,
Oh, look, you printed everything.
yes,
Well, they're actually just...
their own is so beautiful. We're supposed to draw a university because students, we want to, our consultant is to promote the university, bring students for them. You know, you people that is good in IT,
So
Do that one. The ones I'm good in,
Have
I'm
you
doing,
done that
like I recorded the 2
exploring
meetings,
bit?
just they
What-
steal
what
my
are the
file
reasons
at the
for
library.
objections?
I can't find, but the second meeting is with me. You know.
They're very, yeah, but I think.
Where is he? Where is
The problem
he?
is that
You can't say you are doing,
everyone
you want to
works
graduate and
very
you don't come to class.
educational,
I'm
so
just
they want.
frustrated.
And that's the target market.
Well, no, they're
That's-
targeted here.
Look at these people, how they've done their own.
Yeah.
We're supposed to
And
be.
families,
Okay.
not so much older people.
I don't know, Junior doesn't behave like this. Maybe
Because the most
there's something bothering him. What did you acquire? Have you done anything?
like more
We can enter in the portfolio.
I was not well.
You was,
was not well,
even,
yeah.
I can see that. I hope you
What
don't
do
give
they
it
not
to
like
me.
about- have
You
shown-
have
showed
code.
this to them?
Yeah.
Can, the way you speak.
This doesn't look like overly.
We had this one originally, and then another one.
Michael, which one are you people doing?
She liked it.
Are you doing university?
Because
Or with, with Emmanuel there, or with Martin?
Okay.
that's not like, and that is the main information. But we had it differently. They didn't like the colours. They didn't like the amount of text. But then they said that they.
I don't know the technology. The first meeting we went, you know, I'm just looking for that video, subtitle it and start
I
typing.
prefer this, I have
You know.
to say.
The first meeting
If
we
you had
went,
the second
Helen
meeting.
told us what to do. You know.
You've had the second meeting.
We said no. The first meeting we went, Helen said that he cannot give us that information. He referred us to somebody who will give us the information, and we went to that information. And I asked him,
Made it squishy.
is he the one coming? I asked him to send email to Helen.
she-
So,
What they want,
She,
and then
I
when
think
they
so.
see
He sent the
it,
email
It isn't what they want.
last week. He sent the email regarding the second meeting. I'm not quite sure even that.
No, I know. The best thing you can do is what you've done is just do loads of different options that are kind of a mix or combination and kind of go from there. But I mean, this is great effort.
I just went to Maria yesterday. She said do some background research, so I did, and I looked at other charities, and I've got that for her today.
Oh,
So that
brilliant.
she can take it back to the people and see that
Exactly.
they're a bit more
So
light-hearted than they are.
Yeah. And minimal.
Yeah.
Well, you could do QR codes. Is that going to be
Yeah,
too?
I was supposed to put that on, but I didn't have the QR code.
Okay. But I was saying that the QR code could be, could have some of the information on here that if they don't want too much, you know. But I think this is a good combination. So you're going into this meeting to see what she likes.
Yeah, but this is only one type of she wants 5 different ones.
Are you
Five
circling your
different
template?
types, so these are just the promotional ones. And she also wants a social media one, on the day one,
She's not this
a
serious.
progress one.
I can. He's
and a
not
volunteer
serious
one.
at all.
But then what we're trying to say is that the
Did you
volunteer
call him?
one,
Huh?
Did you call
I
him?
have sent him a
and
message.
it's all businessy, and
Look.
we're not gonna.
This is the message. I even the other one I have to use voice message to.
A
You
young
know.
perspective.
See all the message I sent you today.
Yeah.
Board the fact that
Are you coming? I'm in the class now. Let me know if you are coming. No response.
blocking.
Yeah, you're right in the objections part.
Yeah.
So I think, and again, as I say, it's hard not to take it personally because you are putting in effort and you've got your strong opinions about what they're doing that you don't really agree with. And as I say, it could be completely valid, but it's not what you're hired to do.
Where do we get information about? Do you come with your computer?
No, I'm gonna get the computer account
From the
from the library.
okay, go on then. Because we are doing data analysis. Are you doing data analysis or which one? Where be?
This sort of